Hey, Trojan family, what's going on? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show here on the LAFB network. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Hope everyone is doing well. Another of the offseason All-Star games coming up. Wanted to check in on that as we have Trojans performing in the East-West Shrine Bowl, one of the top kind of All-Star games of the circuit before we get to the Combine. You have a few of these around. I think there's a new one actually launching this week potentially that DJ Harvey's playing in. You have the East-West Shrine Bowl, which is one of the top ones. And then like the premier one will be the Senior Bowl, which is usually the week before the Super Bowl. Still one of my goals is to get out to the Senior Bowl. I get credentials every year, so I have the access and the ability to. But it's not exactly cheap to get down to Mobile, Alabama, especially when you have a family. So I'll be out there one time. Hopefully once I have my outfitted Sprinter camper van with my inline podcast studio, I'll just hit the road and road trip out there. So one year I'll be out in Mobile for sure. But East-West Shrine Bowl is a week, or not even really a week, Tuesday, January 27th. It will air 4 p.m. on NFL Network. It's taking place in Frisco, Texas at the Star. It's kind of cool. It's like the Cowboys practice facility. They have basically a full-on stadium as a part of their practice facility. So the game will take place there. It was held for a few years in Vegas. We attended it back then when it was at Vegas, but now that it's in Frisco. But a good event, really good event for these players to really show off their craft, give scouts more to see. It's a full week of kind of practices, measurables. It's really similar to the Combine, but then there's an actual game. So the game itself is more for fanfare. I think the more value is the preparation leading up to the game. Very similar to how for high school recruiting, we talked about the Navy All-American Bowl. We talked about the Polynesian Bowl. Like those are the same thing, like a lot of value in those practice reps that you're with coaches, with not scouts at the high school to college level, but similar recruiting people, similar to pro scouts. So a lot of value here. So 4 USC Trojans will be playing in this game. Anthony Lucas, Bishop Fitzgerald, Lake McRee, and Eric Gentry. So a really nice list there of guys that can bump their draft stock up. We've seen it all the time at these kind of all-star game invites and the Combine where guys can really boost or unfortunately hurt their draft stock. I've always said like the ultimate definition of like these players' stock should be the tape. Should be like put on the game film and see how they perform. But there are organizations similar to kind of recruiting, if you will, that put a little, in my opinion, too much stock on some of these, pre-draft events. When you look at recruiting, all of a sudden there is a ton of stock on these like 7-on-7 camps. That's like how quarterbacks, no disrespect, quarterbacks like Bryson Beaver, formerly Oregon commit. Now he not really flipped. He signed and then hit the portal, and now he's at Georgia. But he like skyrocketed up the recruiting rankings from like a 3-star to a 4-star. That 4-star brought him up to like top 5. And that was all based on like off-season 7-on-7 camps. So these have kind of a somewhat similar effect where I think they can maybe boost or hurt a little too much, but it's an opportunity. Like anything in life, it's an opportunity should you choose to seize it. So Anthony Lucas, his measurables, for those interested, I think this is what we have all known as a guy that is a freak athlete, freak size, just didn't quite have the production. For whatever reason, did not have the production we'd hope he had when he transferred here from Texas A&M. But he comes in at 6'4", 267 pounds, 10 3/8 inch hand, 33 3/8 arm wingspan. And so really good numbers and really good size for a guy that can, put his hand in the dirt if necessary, but probably more of a stand-up outside linebacker. So he would be great, obviously, for a 3-4 system. But again, the NFL, similar to college, are going to move their base packages all over the place, and they can really move him all over the place in that regard. So hopefully he can flash at this, because I really think Lucas is a guy that has a ton of talent, and that size is unteachable. I mean, 6'4", 270 is just tremendous size for an edge rusher. You think of like Von Miller wasn't even that. I think Von Miller was like 6'4", like 252 or something like that. So he has got some weight on. Now Von, obviously, generational type player. But we'll see how Anthony Lucas can flash there. Speaking of, can't teach size. Eric Gentry, we know his size. He comes in 6'6", 221 pounds, 10.5-inch hands, and 35 and a 1/4 inch wingspan. Just a freak athlete with freak size that had a really nice career with USC. Probably didn't have as much of a jump this year as many would hope. Probably not the jump that he would have hoped, but he did stay healthy all year long. That was kind of the big question mark for him going into draft season. Is he a guy that can stay healthy for an entire season? Because he has that unique size, but because he is tall and kind of lanky, 220 for a 6'6" guy is not very stocky. Like, would he be able to remain healthy for a full season? And he did that year. So he was able to check that off the list. So NFL scouts can say, okay, this is a high ceiling guy that we could take a chance on. It'll be fascinating to see where he goes. Like, I could see him being like a 2nd round guy. I could see him being a 6th round guy. Like, I really have no idea kind of where he will land. And this East-West Shrine game can really give us probably a good indication more from scouts and insiders in the draft world of kind of where they see him plugging in. So it will be really fun to watch Eric Gentry. Bishop Fitzgerald, I'm curious to see how much he plays, obviously coming off the injury. Everything I've heard is he should be a full go. Which is great. He want him to be fully ready for draft season. All-American, had a great season with USC, even after missing the final couple of games. High in interceptions, led the team in that, I believe the conference in that. So, really was probably the best transfer USC got from the portal last year, coming over from NC State. So I'll be interested to see kind of what he does this week. If he's a full go and goes in everything and all the drills plus plays in the game, or if he'll be a little bit limited, still just kind of nursing, getting fully healthy, and probably prepping for being a full go for the combine. But everything I've heard is he should be a go. So Bishop Fitzgerald. And then finally, Lake McRee. And Lake McRee is a really also fascinating NFL prospect because he's not a guy that flashed his entire college career. He was really, when healthy, he's just really solid. Right? I mean, he had his best year this past season, finished with 30 catches, 450 yards, and 4 touchdowns. That's pretty good for a tight end that was on the same team as a Blitnikoff winner in Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane. So really the 3rd, 4th, 5th option. Those are still pretty good numbers there. He's got really good NFL size when you look at, him being in the 6'4", 250 range. That's perfect body type for an NFL tight end. And he's a guy, when I comp him to Dalton Schultz. If you think of Dalton Schultz with the Houston Texans, Dalton Schultz is 6'5", so an inch taller, 242, so about 8 pounds lighter. And he's just a solid tight end, right? He's not flashy like Travis Kelce. He's not a elite like George Kittle, or has some of the unbelievable athletic ability of TJ Hawkinson or when Noah Fant was coming out of Iowa. He doesn't quite have that, but he's just a solid option. Dalton Schultz is like your solid classic tight end. He's going to be there for all 3 downs. He can block. He can catch in the red zone. He's going to get you that 300 to 500 yards every single year, those 3 to 6 touchdowns every single year. That's what Lake McRee can be in the NFL. He was that in college, and he can be that in the NFL. So here's a way for him to really show that off and showcase that at the Shrine Bowl. And then I could see him being in that kind of 4th to 6th round range for a team that just, hey, this is a guy. I mean, you think of George Kittle went in the 5th round. Obviously, he way outplayed that, but that's kind of, unless you're that elite tight end, teams kind of wait to take their tight ends later in the draft and then, see how they kind of play out, because it is such a hard position to transition from college to pro. Outside of quarterback, tight end might be the hardest position, just because, remember, the tight end's learning everything in the run game, the pass game, different, all the coverages. You got to learn all the different motions. Not every position has to know that. The tight end does. So it's a difficult position to transition, but when they do, they're extremely valuable, because we know there's not that many great tight ends in football. There's not that many reliable tight ends in football. So Lake McRee can certainly be that. Love to see him showcase it at the Shrine Bowl next Tuesday, January 27th, 4 p.m. Pacific, NFL Network down in Frisco, Texas. Let me know in the comments if you're looking forward to watching, but just wanted to give you a quick info update on our future Trojans, who will be entering the NFL this season. There will be Trojans at the Senior Bowl. We'll do something on that later, probably next week or leading up into that as we get closer. So appreciate you, family. Hit that like and subscribe. Let's hit this rolling. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy your morning. Whenever you're listening, as always, fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat you can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose Jade Mayav in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10, so now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also, right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB, and now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family, and when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.